On Wednesday, President Trump signed an executive order aimed at combating anti Semitism on campus, which would deport non citizens who took part in pro Hamas rallies on campus. And many folks are saying that this action was sparked by the protest at Columbia University. Well, on your screen, you will see Columbia University Shai Davidai, who's kind of become the face of the pro-Jewish, pro-Israel side during these now infamous protests at Columbia. So Shai, shalom, my friend.
Shalom. Thank you for having me. And I have to tell you one thing that, I've been described so many times as pro-Jewish, pro-Israeli. I tell people, hey, I am Jewish and I'm Israeli. Who would you want me to advocate for? That I am not picking jerseys. I'm not picking teams here. This is my family. This is my community. This is my life. I'd just rather be, people talk about me as the guy that's fighting terrorism on campus.
Wow. Okay, so I definitely want to get your take on the executive order, but I think it's important for us to set the scene, because I think a lot of folks say, "Oh, it's protesters. Oh, it's some people, blowing some hot air." I don't think most people really understand what this executive order is even attempting to combat. So, if you could, what is it like standing up for Israel and the Jewish people on Ivy League campuses, specifically Columbia?
Well, I tell people that in order to understand what's going on, they need to go back to October 8th, 2023. And the chronology here is extremely important. On October 8th, 2023, the student organizations at Columbia sat down to write a letter in support of the events that had took place the previous day. Those events were the October 7th massacre, the massacre of more than 1,200 Jews and Israelis in Israel by Hamas terrorists, the raping of multiple women, and the taking of more than 250 hostages, many of them American, Canadian, French, people from Europe, people from Australia. So when people tell you these protests are against the war, they will use words like genocide, which obviously have lost all meaning because they intentionally distort the meaning of the word. But they have to remember the protests started before one Israeli soldier has set foot inside of Gaza. The protests started with Hamas's attack on Israel. That's an important thing to say. When you see these protests, especially for me, was born and raised in Israel. You have to remember, I know what Hamas looks like. You see the same rhetoric from Hamas, Hezbollah terrorists. You see that this is not about a peaceful solution. They never say peace or coexistence. They say, we do not want two states. We want all of it. There is only one solution: intifada, revolution. So I actually grew up during both intifadas. Intifadas in Arabic literally means shaking off, but in practice, the two intifadas in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict have been bloody attempts at exploding buses, restaurants, suicide bombers, shootings, mass knifings, etc. Now, of course, you can say these are all interpretations, so you can look at the protesters' own words. The protesters at Columbia, and when I say protesters, I mean both students and faculty, have not only expressed open support for the armed resistance, meaning that they support US designated terrorist organizations. They've not only glorified Yahya Sinwar, the former head of Hamas that orchestrated the October 7 massacre. They had this event where they were reading his last will, but they've also been supporting a terrorist faction called the Houthis that is in Yemen, while the Houthis were shooting missiles, not in Israeli ships, but at US and British ships. So they were shouting, Yemen, Yemen, make us proud, turn another ship around. So you need to understand that this is not just anti-Jewish or anti-Israeli, this is also anti-American, which explains why you've heard the leaders of Hamas, of Hezbollah, but also of the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, expressing their gratitude and support for the protesters at Columbia and other campuses.
Well, that's very helpful. Thank you for that insight. And let me read you part of the fact sheet that Trump set out, ordering the Justice Department to to do the things like, let me just read it verbatim so I don't get it messed up. The fact sheet said things like he would order the Justice Department to aggressively prosecute terrorist threats, arson, vandalism, and violence against American Jews. He goes on to say, to all the resident aliens who joined in the pro-jihadist protests, we put you on notice. Come 2025, we will find you and we will deport you. I will also quickly cancel the student visas of Hamas sympathizers on college campuses, which have been infested with radicalism like never before. So as, again, the public face of a lot of this, what is your initial reaction to this executive order?
So I haven't read the exact words, and that's important for me as a professor. I have to say, a lot of people have been opining about things they don't know. I haven't read the exact words, but I can tell you from my own personal experience. I came to the United States in 2010 on a student visa. I saw my student visa as getting into an agreement with the government of the United States. As long as I fulfill my responsibilities, I will get the privileges of living and working and learning in American institutions, right? So, for example, I was so afraid to even get a speeding ticket because I didn't know what that would end to. Every time that I entered the United States through JFK, Newark, I was worried. Even once I was taken to a separate screening at a different room, until they saw, yeah, he's just a guy getting his PhD. That's the law. That's what I signed on to. As long as President Trump's executive order focuses on people that broke the law, focuses on them impartially, regardless of their ethnicity, gender, sex, national origin, and gives them due process to defend themselves in the legal court, I see no problem with that. In fact, I went earlier today to read when you apply for a student visa, when you apply to any visa actually in the United States, you have to answer certain questions. One of those questions are this: have you ever or do you intend to provide financial assistance or other support to terrorists or terrorist organizations? That's not me. That's US government questions of every student coming into the United States. Now, obviously, very easy for me. No, of course I haven't done, and nor do I intend to do that. Now, it's important, the financial assistance or other support. If you come to the United States or to any Western democracy and express support to the terrorist organizations as they are defined by that democracy, then you should be held accountable for your actions. Again, as long as it's done legally, due process, and impartially, I see no problem.
Mm-hmm. Well, I correct me if I'm wrong, Shai. You're still barred from entering Columbia's campus. Is that correct?
I am not only barred from entering all Columbia facilities, including the Jewish Center, including the medical facility. I'm also barred from my office. And earlier today, it's been 3.5 months since I've been able to go into my office. And earlier today, I emailed the university, the dean of the university, saying, I need to get into my office to get some books, some mail, some personal possessions. The university would not let me go into my office. So I said, can my wife come instead of me? You have a problem with me, I've been speaking out, and you don't like that, that's fine. Can my wife come and collect some of my personal belongings and things that I need to conduct the work and the research that you pay me to do? And they said, no, your wife cannot enter your office. So now I'm in back and forth through the university's lawyers to get my stuff. But this is how they treat people who speak about what's happening on campuses.
I can already start to see the comments on YouTube, and the ones that are going to come up, and I think you're the perfect person to answer this objection. I'm just going to throw this softball up. You hit it however you want. I'm basically giving you an opportunity to respond to probably the most common objection, which is this. Okay, I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm anti-Zionist. I don't hate Jewish people. I just don't like what Israel's doing. And so if I think they're committing genocide or apartheid, whatever, I'm justified in doing A, B, and C. What would your response be?
First of all, I would be very sympathetic to everyone. I don't cancel people. Unlike some factions in academia and especially in these protests, I don't cancel people. I'll say, let's have a conversation. Thank you for expressing your objection. Let me now explain, as someone who's Jewish and Zionist, what that means. Zionism or anti-Zionism started in Soviet Russia in 60s and 70s as Soviet propaganda to create their own version of anti-Semitism. And they said, we won't target Jewish individuals, but we will target Jewish institutions and Jews as a community. What does that mean? We will target the Hebrew language, that is the language that connects Jewish people. We will target the institutions where Jews congregate, meaning synagogues and cultural centers. We will target Israel as the largest, most abstract sense of Jewish entity, and we will target the idea that Jews are a people. Because if we accept the fact that Jews are a people, then we have to accept the fact that, like a people, like any other people, they deserve the right to self-determination. In fact, if you believe that the Palestinians have the right to self-determination, which I personally do, and I get a lot of flack from the right, and I personally do, you should also believe that the Jews have a right to self-determination. Saying you're anti-Zionist means I do not believe that the Jews have the right to self-determination, meaning I do not believe that the Jews are either should be treated as a people that, like any other people, or the Jews should be stripped of their peoplehood. Both things, I'm sorry to say, are anti-Semitic. Now, of course, you can and you probably should criticize Israel's government, just like you should criticize every government. But you should not be calling for the annihilation of the state of Israel. And saying I oppose Israel is anti-Semitic, while saying I oppose Israel's actions, Bibi Netanyahu, this specific policy. Now, of course, if you do that, you want to ask yourself, why are you so obsessed with Israel, but you're not obsessed with China, who is only eclipsed by Iran in their violations of human rights? Why are you not obsessed with Sudan, which is what is happening there is an actual genocide? Why are you not obsessed with Venezuela? Why are you not obsessed with all these other countries, Russia? And when you do criticize them, if you do criticize them, why are you not calling for the destruction of China, the destruction of Russia, the destruction of Venezuela? Of course, you are not, because you don't conflate the policy of the government with the people. And yet, when it comes to Israel, you do, making you, unfortunately, an anti-Semite.
Wow, Shai, that is so very helpful. I hope that you are reinstated as a Columbia professor very soon. Thank you again for your time. Toda rabah, as they say in Israel, and we'll be talking again very soon, my friend.
Thank you. And I will always say, I am always happy to have conversations with everyone and anyone. If people can follow me, I'm on Twitter, on Instagram, Shai Davidai, SHAIDAVIDAI. I don't cancel people. I have only two rules: no hate, no lies. As long as you don't come with hate and you don't come peddling falsehoods, we're in conversation. And that's the best thing we can do.
Awesome. Well, yes, definitely do get in contact with Shai. He's an incredible man. Again, Shai, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you so much.